Welcome to the Bobby Moore stand. It's the day of all days, the day we've been hoping for would finally arrive. We heard earlier, courtesy of TalkSport, that Lopetegui, he's no more. He's been booted out. Then we heard, no, he hasn't. He hasn't been booted out at all. We heard an update from X in the last hour or so because he didn't trust the contact from TalkSport. And the update from X was along the lines of West Ham just said he's still in post at the moment. Well, here's the latest, which we understand comes from KUMB via Jacob Steinberg. Now, I'm going to read this very slowly and deliberately so that you get the full message. Word is that a unanimous decision at board level was taken after a hastily arranged full board meeting this morning to sack Julen Lopetegui today. So that means the board that met in an emergency meeting voted unanimously to sack Lopetegui, right? That's the first bit. Someone, no idea who, leaked it to TalkSport, who then announced it as breaking news without Lopetegui being informed. Bit sketchy, isn't it, so far? Typical West Ham. And then finally, club, as we've heard in their denials, are now flapping like you wouldn't believe. And from the top, has gone into full silent mode. Not even a no comment to press inquiries, just silence. Shh, silence. Anyway, look, cut to the chase. They've agreed unanimously to get rid of Lopetegui. It's going to happen. It's just a case of, I guess, this is only a guess, Chris, but Sullivan has been known to change his mind and play games. And I would have thought if you were absolutely adamant, one of the people who voted earliest of all to get rid of, and I don't want to drop anyone in it, by the way, but say you just wanted Lopetegui gone, you weren't convinced by him all the way through, and then suddenly the vote goes in your favour, he's going, but then you're thinking, don't know if I trust Sullivan, we need to get this out there, because he might change his mind. He's been known to change his mind before. And lo and behold, at the moment, I think, because, and again, I think, Chris, again, this is from another guy that sent me that message. Who said it's a clear case at the moment. If he were to walk away, he could claim constructive dismissal. What do you think?
What do I think? I think first off, what a joke! What a joke of a day it's
only
been.
West Ham.
It's so West Ham, isn't it, mate? I mean, it's so West Ham. I was all excited. I've been all excited, and it's been all over social media.
You've got to stay excited. Stay excited.
I am, but it's so West Ham that they cannot seem to kind of, go with their convictions and just say, fuck it, right, we're going to cut ties with him. I don't understand why. I mean, we've said it before about delaying the inevitable, but putting all that stuff out in the media today, and then then come back and say that he's probably got the Villa game, that's madness. That is complete madness. It's almost
Total.
like I can't. It's laughable. I mean, we were laughing about it just now briefly, but mate, nothing surprises me of West Ham anymore. Nothing surprises me at all. Of course, he's going to go. That is, absolutely inevitable. Who's he going to be replaced with? It seems most likely it's going to be Graham Potter, based on the various bits of information we've heard, and also based on some of the evidence, right? With Tim Stein having a lovely cup of tea with him. I don't know if that was taken today.
I'm a bit distracted at the moment. I keep looking around, but carry on. I'm listening.
Yeah. So if it's not him, who else is it going to be? There's been some noise about bloody what's his face,
Steve Cooper. Steve Cooper.
Yeah, honestly, I've even had some memes sent to me of Wayne Rooney, mate. It's just laughable. I think that they've just got to make the decision now, because you do wonder, and a friend of mine obviously called it out about, maybe that's exactly what they're looking to do, what you've just said, right? So making him walk, because it's embarrassing for Lopetegui when he knows that he's inevitably going to get sacked, right? It's going to happen. Is he thinking to himself, well, do you know what, sod this, I'm not going to get played for a mug here, I'm going to walk anyway? And if he does have a case for constructive dismissal, then he would do that. But maybe maybe Sullivan's thinking, do you know what, we can get him to walk away for nothing, so it's not going to cost him as much, by doing it this way. I don't know. I don't know anymore, man. I really don't know. All I know is our club is just run by a complete bunch of jokers. It really is. Absolute circus, mate.
Total. I mean, only West Ham could manage something that's relatively simple, albeit difficult, because a man losing his job is no laughing matter. You know, as a football supporter, I'm glad to see him go, but on a human level, no one likes to see someone lose their job, right?
Yeah.
So that's but and at the same time, West Ham are the employer, and they've got certain obligations towards that employee.
Yeah.
And one of those obligations is not to go to the media and tell them that you've been fired before you have been.
There's a way of doing these things, and I think it's just so unprofessional with the way that the way he, because it's down to Sullivan, conducts himself in this respect. Because, you know, regardless of the fact that Lopetegui's been a magnificent flop for us this season, there's still a way of treating human beings, you know, and I just don't like the way we go about doing this. I just think it's completely immoral and wrong. I just think he now needs to make the decision and say, right, you've got to go. You know, we're going to replace you. Don't keep him on for the Villa game because, you know, what's the point? I mean, come on. If you knew that you were going to get sacked out, if you knew how motivated would you be to take over the team against Villa? You wouldn't give a shit, would you? You wouldn't care.
Not only that, right? Say they've given the job to Potter, and the word on the street this morning was that Potter was going to come into post. What are they hoping to achieve by letting him have Villa? Do they care so little about? We know they don't care about the cups, but do they care so little about the FA Cups and about their fans that they're willing to go up there yet again? And you've been there before with this, haven't you? Haven't you? You know, are they more than happy that me and you and all the others make our way up on a sub-zero Friday night to Villa Park to see a team who are not trying get rolled over and dumped out the FA Cup just so they can fire them the following morning? Why is that?
There's no logic. There's no logic behind it at all in terms of keeping him for that particular game. Making the change now, definitely, because even if I doubt Graham Potter would be managing the team on Friday anyway, it's too soon. You know, even if they got rid of Lopetegui tomorrow, I think it'd probably be someone like Keane or someone like that taking over for the interim just for that game. But even that, I'd rather than Lopetegui managing, because there's no outcome of him managing that game that's going to end up in a positive light at all. You know, I think we expect to lose the game. Of course we do. We expect to lose it, but you know, if Lopetegui takes charge of that game, then you can pretty much guarantee there's no point even turning up for it, as we are. You know.
Well, that's the thing. It makes me wonder whether it's worth the journey, Chris.
Oh well, it's always worth the journey just for the banter, mate. Do you know what we should all do? All the away fans should dress up in clown outfits, mate. Honestly, that's what we should do because that's exactly how the club is run.
It'd be a brilliant protest.
It'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Well, it's better than what some people have been suggesting and not turning up to games. I mean, people who don't go to games recommended that people who do go to games don't turn up to games. That's rich, isn't it? Strange West Ham act the day that Potter was put in as favourite to replace Ange at Spurs. Typical Sullivan. His position is untenable now. See, there was that rumour as well about they were waiting for Spurs to sack Ange. Again, no, I think this is irrespective of what you think of Potter. We're going to talk about Potter in more depth in a moment. All right, we just want to go through the rumours first. There's a lot of this is about the club, this section, and complete lack of professionalism, says Charlie Old WHU. It absolutely is. It's bloody terrible. Only we could run something this badly. If Loppo is still in charge for the Villa game, then leaking the sacking is disgraceful. It's not only disgraceful, it's it's constructive dismissal. Of course it is. Of course it is, because you're forcing a guy to leave of his own volition and in the hope that he's not going to take the payoff. Well, he will get a payoff because he'll sue you successfully, just the same way that Kirbishley sued West Ham successfully when they sold players without his permission.
Yeah. I think it's a situation now, Gail, where they're going to have to let him go before Friday. They've got to, haven't they? If you look at it objectively, they cannot keep him for Friday. There's no outcome of doing that that's actually going to end up favourable for either party. It's just not going to work out well. So I think they need to make that decision and quick. If not today, then certainly tomorrow.
I feel bad now because I put in that thumbnail, Sullivan. I wanted to give him some credit. I put him in the power position in the middle. I wanted to find one with him pointing, say you're fired. So I was like, I put Lopetegui on the end of it, but I didn't have time.
It's a great thumbnail, mate. It's a great thumbnail.
I put him in that power position, and look what happens. He fucks me, doesn't he? He fucks me by ballsing it up again. You know, what can you do? What can you do?
There is a rumor that he saw your thumbnail and changed his mind.
It's going to be Moyes again. No, there's one thing I feel certain it isn't going to be, Steve. Sullivan knows he has to act now as the resentment is growing. Well, look, especially when this gets out there, because it's out there already. They have agreed to fire him, and yet they haven't got the bottle to fire him.
Yeah,
That's in summary what it is, because they didn't want him to find out, because they wanted to probably give him the Villa game, let him lose like we know is going to happen, and then fire him because we lost.
Did they really not want him to find out though, Gal? I mean, come on, seriously. I mean, why the hell is Tim Stein sat, which looks like presumably quite a public open place, having a cup of tea with Potter? I mean, you've got to be absolutely stupid, to do that. If you wanted to keep it secret and behind closed doors, you have those meetings behind closed doors, not where people can take a picture of you from that's the thing. So I don't believe that. I think this is actually by design, mate. I do.
Apparently that picture was taken before the Wolves game.
Was it? Okay.
Yes,
right.
It wasn't from today.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It kind of makes it a little bit, it changes the narrative a little bit more, doesn't it? But, it still does mean, of course, that we are looking to replace him, as everyone knows, right? Everyone knows that. And it was a number of weeks back.
Before we get on to talk about the actual managers and whatever, we'll finish about the West Ham topic. We've got nearly 200 people watching on X. We've got nearly 500 people watching on YouTube. It's also going out to TikTok, but I've got no bloody way of finding out how many people are watching on there because I've lost the admin tool. But yeah, so can you, if you watch this channel regularly, can you subscribe? Do us a favour and subscribe to it, and also give it a like. It helps us. That's all we ask. That's all we ask. Thank you very much. So look, let's. So no, it's not going to be Moyes. I did. And I don't want to talk about the appointment of Potter until we've kind of covered Potter. Let's talk about him and his pros and his cons before we. I think it's horrible when people just say, Potter, don't like him, don't like his face, he's miserable, he's not going to inspire us. Who knows? Who knows? This would be more suitable. Dress up as the Keystone Cops with a Russian hat. I do have my Russian hat.
Yeah, where is it, mate? Where is it? Get out.
I need to find it. Well, you can never find a Russian hat when you need it, can you? I don't know where it is. God knows. But anyway, I will find it. And that is a good idea because it's very warm. It's very soft and very warm. I can see what Sullivan sees in those silly hats now.
If he doesn't like a trick
Potter might be,
let's be honest.
Potter might be a smokescreen. I'll tell you what, someone worried me today because they were talking about Steve Cooper, who I don't think would be suitable for us. I think Gio got it right earlier when he said he's more suitable to a championship side. I think he is. He proved that with Forest. Not a bad manager, but he's got a face you want to slap, obviously. His agent is Will Salthouse, and he was watching us the other day.
Hold up. He's got a face that has been slapped. He's got a face that looks like it has been slapped, girl, hasn't it? I mean, he would be an absolutely hideous appointment for us. I mean, honestly, I see that as a step backwards from Lopetegui, and that's saying something. If that actually happened, I honestly, would I carry on going to games this season? Mate, I probably would, but Jesus Christ, it would be a real tough watch, wouldn't it? It really would. It would.
Yeah, look, I mean, you got to go for the comedy value, haven't you? I mean, I'm not going to lie. A lot of the time, not a lot of the time, but some of the time in supporting West Ham over the years, it has been more the comedy value going to watch them. It's been bloody obvious we're going to lose. At the moment, I do feel quite passionate, mainly because we seem to have taken defeat out of the jaws of success. We could have moved on, and look where they've fucking dumped us.
I know.
The worst appointment in the club history, in my opinion. This is bad as well. This is Craven. Can you imagine if they told Potter he got it? Don't tell Lopetegui, who then takes the Villa game and we win it 3-0, and Sullivan be sweating more than Jeremy Beadle in a glove shop. Well, look, if Loppy isn't sacked, the fact is, David, he should be sacked because the board unanimously voted for him to be sacked. So really, it should be, up to the directors to, whoever's empowered to do that, to sack him. But they're playing silly games, aren't they?
Yeah, do you not think, right? If you're Graham Potter, put yourself in Graham Potter's shoes for a second, and you see the way the club are handling this situation with Lopetegui, I'm going to be thinking, if I'm Potter, what a weird and a joke club. Honestly,
totally.
I would be thinking, is this really the club for me if this is how they treat, the managers?
And this last bit us on the arse with Martin O'Neill. Do you remember when he was lined up to join? And I don't know who was in post at the time, but he didn't agree with the fact that the manager didn't know anything about it, and so he walked away.
Was that when Slav was in charge? I can't remember, but it seems
it might have been. I think it was actually. Allardyce, I think it was. He'll be sacked tomorrow. Yeah, this is just it's mental how we can do this. After next season, I don't see how this ownership can carry on like this. 15 years long now. The end of the season should be the back of them. Total Clowns a lot, but yeah, it won't be. They'll carry on going, Randy, for as long as they can. The way it's been handled is typical Sullivan, amateur and classless. The club has genuinely drained me. Sullivan has drained us supporters. I don't understand the club anymore. I think under Sullivan, there's been many times where we haven't understood the club and their motivations, right? And I think this one here, Chris, you're 100% right. All the news today, no way he can be in charge of Villa. Look, how can he be after the stuff that's come out? How can he be? No. 8 to 9 o'clock in the morning, Tony Ryan says. Tony, where'd you get that from? You need to let me know. There's a Sullivan's nephew in here, Wolf Gaming Central, aka. It's not necessarily Sullivan, could be anyone around the club. Yeah, it could be, but ultimately, if the board have made that decision to sack him, it's ultimately Sullivan's decision to make that shit happen.
Yeah, he's not stupid, Sullivan. Like, he knows exactly what he's doing. When this stuff is leaked out to the press, right, you can be sure that he's certainly one of the guys behind all of this stuff, right? He wants to make this happen. He wants to, he wants people to gossip about this.
People think he is stupid. That's the anomaly here. That's the thing that people don't understand. He's not. The guy graduated in accountancy from Queen Mary College. All right, not a top university, but he still did that. He's not stupid, right? Loppy is reinstated. Nah. No chance. And finally, before we move on, Steve Tiley, I believe he has been sacked, but official line tomorrow. Well, look, surely that must be the case, Steve. I mean, he would have known about this. He would have been ringing numbers today. His agent would have been onto him. They would have had to come clean with him, surely.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You put yourself in Lopetegui's shoes.
I won't put this up, but I will.
What was that? I didn't see it. What was that?
If you had one bullet, Sullivan, Brady or Musk.
Well, it depends what kind of bullet it was. Might be able to get all three of them in one hit.
That photo was 2024. Yeah, it was. It was just Mac. It was just before the Wolves game. I said it earlier.
Yeah.
So the thing is, this is emotionally, this is draining. I did the transfer update this morning where I emphasised that there was a link between, who was his name? Hwang Hee
Chan, the guy from Wolves.
That's it, Chan. Yeah. The guy from Wolves. He's a reasonable player, but injury prone. Played for Loppy. There's actually quite a few photos of Loppy embracing him. I put one on the thumbnail. So I thought, hello, that's a bit of a, they seem to be getting him all that he wants. A new left back, a new broken left back in Kieran Tierney, a new striker maybe. They're doing all these things, and it kind of felt. And then so I sort of, that was fine, and I sort of understood it, but I still sort of expected they were using him as a bit of a patsy so they could get on with their business while he says nothing, because he's got no right to say anything. That what I thought it was. But it was actually delightful this afternoon. I just suddenly got a message out of the blue, Loppy gone. And that just brightened my day up so much. I can't explain. I really can't explain. It was fantastic, amazing. And, to suddenly then have it taken away from you and then have it given back. But it hasn't been taken away. That's the fact here, right? That's the fact. It is happening. It's just a case of when it happens. And hopefully these people are right that tomorrow morning is when it's going to happen. Speaking to a Forest fan today, actually. Forest 2-0 up already. They're going to go joint second. I'm really pleased with Forest. I think they're a great club.
Incredible, mate. Unbelievable how well they're doing, really, isn't it? Really is.
I'll tell you what, all you people out there, if there's any of you, and I know demographic that is for these shows tends to be around our age, sometimes older, but there's an autobiography called Walks on Water, or a biography called Walks on Water by Brian Clough. It talks about Brian Clough and his time at Derby and Nottingham Forest. It's the best book ever. If ever you want to understand what went into making, or the best manager, probably the best, most successful manager in British football, I include Alex Ferguson in that. What he did with Derby and then Forest was, it's never been repeated. It never will be repeated. It was outstanding. So let's talk about right. Okay, let's finish with all this. I'm going to go down to the bottom of the comments. Let's wrap up on Lopetegui. Let's talk about Lopetegui's reign, right? So let's bring up a few.
We really want to depress ourselves on this guy. My God.
No. This will be 5 minutes, because look, it's a brief reign. It's not been a very impressive reign. Let's face it. And yeah, good riddance. Good riddance. Sorry, Lop. But it is what it is. If only I could find out how to share a bloody document, I would. But anyway, look, until I do, let's go through and talk about it. He's played 20 matches, or he's managed 20 matches in the Premier League for West Ham this year. He's won 6, he's drawn 5, he's lost 9. 23 points. 23 points. When you look at the breakdown of what he's done there, I mean, 22 matches in total in charge of West Ham, 27 in charge of Wolves, 14 for Real Madrid, 20 for Spain, 19 for Spain under 21, 18 for under 19s, 11 for under 20, Castilla 38. The only 2 places he's stayed for a sort of a long time is Porto, where it looks like he spent 2 seasons, and Sevilla, where he was there for 3.5. So, and you got to say, he inherited the side at Sevilla, didn't he? I am so unimpressed. I have been so unimpressed. I couldn't be more unimpressed with a manager if I bloody tried than what we've had to watch this year. And I'll tell you what, David Moyes, I said this the other week, he was at least a professional football manager. He was a professional football manager who knew how to get a tune playing his style, which I hated, out of a set of players. They had the similarities in the system over players, but the Moyes system was far easier to get pretty much anybody to play in it than the Lopetegui system, which was overly complex, and you need exactly the right players who are on the same wavelength and probably speaking the same language to operate that system, right? He had that set of players at Seville until he started rebuilding it, and then it all went wrong and he got sacked. This is not a successful football manager, no matter what. And I hope this is the last time ever I have to mention his name, but it won't be, because he'll be having to go at West Ham in the press by tomorrow. And that is Guillaume Balaguer, that tit who went all over the media. And he's the one, I blame him completely. He's the fucking head of PR for Julen Lopetegui. He's the one that was on TalkSport. He was everywhere, all over social media channels, telling us what a fantastic manager he is, and basically dismissing any opposition that West Ham fans had to Julen Lopetegui. None of us fucking wanted him. But by the time he'd done his sales pitch, Chris, he seemed like an half-decent option. He'd be all right. He wasn't, though, was he?
I don't know why you get so wound up by that, Guillaume Balaguer, to be honest with you, because he talks a load of shit. And
what I hate, Chris, is the way he spoke down to West Ham fans, telling them we knew fuck all. That's what he was saying.
Well, I get that, but he's been proven to make himself look like a tit by saying that stuff. Because you talk about his reign at West Ham. I mean, we know it's been absolutely tragic. I don't really care what he's done prior to West Ham. I mean, he had a decent time at Sevilla. He had a really good flawless record at Spain. But if you look at what he's done at West Ham, it's crap. I said so many times, Gal, even I probably haven't said it for a few weeks, but I can count on one hand. In fact, I could probably count on half a hand how many games I think we've actually deserved to win this season, because we actually haven't deserved to win many. I've not come away from a single game this season where I thought to myself, do you know what? We really, really thoroughly deserved that win. We haven't, mate. We just haven't. So for me, there's zero credit I can give him for anything that's happened at West Ham this season. I can't give him anything, mate. It's been a disastrous appointment, and the sooner he goes, the better. Sullivan needs to make that fucking call now. Get rid. Do it. Fuck all of this nonsense going on in the press right now. It's clearly obvious that he cannot stay. The situation is untenable for him. The situation is untenable for the fans and for Lopetegui. Get rid. Goodbye. Thank you very much. I don't want to see him anymore. I don't even want to talk about him anymore, because he is right up there, as you said at the beginning of this video, mate. He's right up there with one of the worst managers, certainly I've ever seen in my tenure of being a West Ham fan. He's worse. He's got a worse record than Avram Grant, mate. What does that tell you? Do you know what I mean? A worse record than Avram Grant. How the hell is that even possible? I didn't think that would happen again. He's been awful. He's been awful.
I do trust Craven, and I'm not going to put that comment out there, but he just ruined a fucking... I had amazing respect for him. I just thought he was different class, but I didn't know that. But then again, it doesn't surprise me, the things people were getting away with, celebrities in the 60s and 70s, all the stuff we're seeing coming out lately. Even this Diddygate thing over in the States, that fucking goes back generations. It was like there's always been a Diddy running those situations. It's just...
Well, I'm not reading his book anymore, Gal. You ain't sold it to me, mate.
Nah, don't read his book. Don't read his fucking book. Fuck him.
Awful book, awful manager. Move on.
Yeah, that's it. Drunk. Right. Yeah, that is true, actually, what Gary Wellington says here. the highlight of the season was probably away to Newcastle. That was our only real decent end-to-end performance. And even that was because Newcastle were a bit profligate in front of goal, weren't they? They didn't take their chances early doors.
Yeah, we were good that game. I mean, to be fair, I did give a lot of credit to Lopetegui that day because I thought suddenly we were all hoping he turned it, and suddenly he was, found, I don't know, best way of playing West Ham. But then obviously it went back to normal, didn't it, again, the next games?
Let me repeat, because we've had quite a few people join us. We've now got, 300 on X and 500 on YouTube. Now, let me just repeat what I opened the show with. And this is, for all the stuff that's been, today it's been a roller coaster. We've heard he's fired, not confirmed. X said the club have said he's still in post. But then we heard from KUMB via Jacob Steinberg, apparently, the word is that a unanimous decision at board level was taken over a hastily arranged board meeting this morning to sack Lopetegui today. Someone, no idea who, leaked it to TalkSport, who then announced it as breaking news without Lopetegui being informed, which is not the dumb thing. Club are now flapping like you wouldn't believe, and from the top has gone into full silent mode, not even a no comment to press inquiries, just silence. So again, we've managed to do something that sounds good and make a right bloody mess out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but nonetheless, let's hope they do the decent thing by him, because he's a human being, he's being fired, he's losing his job. Let him know. Let him leave with dignity. Don't fuck around, West Ham. Yeah, don't make him fucking go up to Villa when the players all know he's getting sacked. Well, how ridiculous would that be? They just won't play for him.
It's embarrassing, mate. It's so embarrassing. Yeah. I am sometimes embarrassed to support this club purely because of David Sullivan and how we run. It's just an absolute circus, isn't it? There's no way of putting it.
This was going on while Loppy took training this morning, believe it or not.
Yeah, I heard it. I heard that, mate. I mean,
nonetheless, though, if that was going on at the same time, if the training was going, because they finished training by about 1 o'clock, right? So if that board meeting happened at 10 or 11 o'clock, it probably happened simultaneously. Yeah. Look at the excitement we've all got back from this bit of news. Yes, Ryan. Yes, I absolutely love this bit of news. Subscribe to Fortune's Always Hiding Down Under TV if you get a chance. So, Gary and Chris, I do wonder what will happen if Stein gets removed, as Kretinsky wanted Stein in the first place, and now Dan Ashworth is available in terms of director of football. What do you both reckon? I don't know enough about Dan Ashworth, but like I said in my video today, if you saw it, I don't believe all of the stuff that gets transmitted in the media about Stein, because if you remember back to last January, he had all his transfer powers taken away then, off the back of him doing that really strange thing of dealing with the wrong agent over Ibrahim, whatever his name was. Yeah, and they put it in the press that he's lost, basically they've lost respect for him. He's taken a hit to his reputation over it. They did this last January and said, you're not getting involved in any transfer dealings. And then we went and sold Pablo Fornals and signed Calvin Phillips while he was off duty. That's one that can't be laid at his door. And then this season, it's been, look at the fucking mess he's made. Full crew, don't score any goals. Now they've added Todibo to the mix, Guilherme. Fact is, full crew will be fine. We probably paid 10 million too much, but as a striker, he'll be fine. He'll be average. He'll score goals. A better signing than Danny Ings, put it like that. And then Todibo, there's a player in there. You've seen him at times this year. He's been like a Rolls Royce, right? He really has been like a Rolls Royce.
Loads of big clubs wanted him, mate. Loads of big clubs wanted him. We were incredibly grateful to have got him and somewhat surprised when he signed for us.
Yeah, we were delighted. We were delighted. And early on, you saw just what he could do. He's kind of majestic, the way he carries the ball and the way he passes. Absolutely brilliant. If someone can get the best out of him, we've got a player there. And then finally, Guilherme. That's the one criticism I'll have of Stein. I mean, firstly, he paid too much for Full Crew, but secondly, he bought Guilherme in at the wrong point in time, because we didn't need somebody. We did not need somebody who was for the future. We needed somebody for the now, because we were building a team after the devastation left by David Moyes. So, but other than that, I think he's done pretty good. Who was it who convinced? Now, I've heard people say, Noble picked Kudus. Everyone knew about Kudus. It ain't about knowing about him. It's about convincing that person,
and
selling them the dream of coming to West Ham. The fact that he got Kudus to sign for us, and Alvarez, and Todibo, that shows he's a hell of a salesman and he's got a good story to tell.
Mate, I
about
think
West Ham.
with Tim Steiten, his successes far outweigh, some of the ones that didn't really work out, and some of the ones that haven't necessarily worked out. There's still kind of a question mark over them. It's not like they're completely failed yet. You highlighted Guilherme. I think that was, as you say, I think that was the biggest. I don't want to say failure because there could be potentially a good player there. There could be, and he may be one for the future.
Yeah.
But realistically, as you said, it should have been for the now. So that 20 million, whatever we paid for him, whether it's on the drip, whatever it is, that could have been put towards getting a better manager than Lopetegui. And it always goes back to that question that we always sort of raise every single week, mate, is why do we always seem to shell out a decent amount of money, but then sometimes stop when it gets to that moment where you're thinking, right, we could really turn a corner here. But we never, ever spend money on a manager. And that is the biggest frustration I always have with West Ham. I just hope that we get it right this time. I really, really hope that Potter is the man that will hopefully change the fortunes at West Ham, because it's been going on too long, mate. These managers, it's been going on for so many years now in terms of getting a proper manager in. Yes, David Moyes has his successes. We all know that. But we also, I don't want to go into David Moyes, but we know obviously the negatives with him as well. Pretty much the majority of West Ham fans wanted to change. But we've never ever managed to somehow get a good manager in. I mean, let's not forget, mate. When we took David Moyes, no one wanted him. We were the only club that wanted him, and us fans didn't want him, did we? He was garbage at that point, right? He went off to Spain. He was at Man United, failed. Went to Spain, failed. He went to Sunderland, got them relegated. We were devastated when he came to West Ham. Why do we never get a manager that is really on the up? Do you know? We never seem to do that, do we? Never.
I just don't know. I just don't know, because he won't, whether it's resale value or whatever, he will not shell out for a manager. It's the most stupid thing, because you get a good manager, somebody who's really, really perfect for your club and your situation, and he's ambitious and he's got a plan for the club to take them forward. All you got to do is feed that guy some money. And the one thing that Sullivan has been good at is finding the money to invest in players. It's often been the wrong players, but he's been good at finding money to support, consecutive managers. Lopetegui's the latest one to be backed massively, right? So he'll back the next one as well. If the next one is Graham Potter, then he won't be getting enormously backed in January, because he'll need to prove himself up until the end of the season first. And let's hope we have, first of all, a new manager bounce, a honeymoon. If it is him, let's just assume it's going to be him. I don't want to consider that it's going to be Steve, what's his name? The ex-Forest bloke. That doesn't do anything for me at all, right?
That
doesn't do anything for me at all.
That can't happen. I'm sure it will be Potter. But the other question that I do have is that, again, it's fairly hypothetical at this stage, although I think it will happen, is what will West Ham be like, okay, with regards to our squad? With Potter in charge. Okay, so who is he going to let go of? Who are we going to sign? Because even those transfer targets that you've obviously mentioned in the video and we've been discussing over the last week or so, how many of those will come to fruition now, and how many of those are actually players that Potter would even want to sign? We don't even know that. So it might be like rip that hole up, rip all of that up and start again. So are we still going to be linked with Evan Ferguson? Don't know. Does Potter want him? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But all of those targets may change. And also, who does he want to keep at West Ham? Has he already got in his mind who I want to get rid of? Does he want to get rid of Kudus because he doesn't see him as a team player? Does he want to get rid of Alvarez? Does he want to get rid of Rodriguez? Or is he thinking, I'm going to give them all a fresh start? And that concerns me, because I think we know what we get with some of those players, irrespective of a fresh start or not,
Interesting questions. Let's cover this one before we go on to Potter, right? So give Nobes the Villa game. I'd do that. Yes. He loves a cup, Nobes. He loves a cup. I would definitely give Loppy some dignity, and give Potter a clean slate. And that's what I'd ask. Now we're going to go on and talk about Potter, right? I don't think there are any other real genuine candidates at the moment, even though people have pointed out that Fonseca's just been sacked from Milan. I don't think this is a time to bring in a foreign manager into an English league. More language barrier. What's the point doing it this time? This is a 6-month deal, and we need to get behind somebody who's walking into a situation with, key players injured. Got to rely on Sullivan and his mate Will to bring in some. Let's hope they bring in the kind of Somerville Wan-Bissaka end of the scale rather than the Maxwell Cornet end of the scale, because they've got a checkered history, the pair of them. Some players they've brought in have been really good. Michael Antonio, Cresswell. Some players haven't. Right. So this is quite an interesting one, actually. I think Ferguson is a Potter pick. It could be, couldn't he?
He might be. But I've got my concerns around Evan Ferguson, and I've spoken to you about this at depth because for me, don't get me wrong, he's shown signs that there's a real player in him. But my concern with him is his injury records. The other thing you've got to kind of wonder, if you look at it objectively, is why would Brighton want to get rid of like what is essentially a 20-year-old hot prospect striker? You know, they're hard to come by strikers, right? Particularly that type of mould of player, someone physical, big, you know. He's a good player. But the injury record worries me. When you look at Brighton's team, they've got João Pedro up front and they've got Danny Welbeck as potentially the number 2, who would deputise if João Pedro is injured, right? Why would you not want Evan Ferguson in your team?
Yeah.
So that concerns me. Why would you want to get rid of him?
Well, personally, I think this is part of their business model. Brighton recycle players. They don't recycle them. They literally move them on pretty quickly when they reach a decent market value. They probably think he's reached his peak market value because he scored, I don't know how many goals last season.
Not many, mate. He's not scored many goals,
It was 13, wasn't it? Don't want it 13.
No, he hasn't scored that. I think, honestly, mate.
Go check the stats. I'm sure it was 13 in one season.
I'm going to check I'll check his stats right now, mate. But I don't think it's that great. And also, if you look over the course of the last 3 seasons, Gal, he's been injured for most of them. Like, you know, I think the most amount of games that he's played in one season, I'm going to look this up right now. I think he's around about in the mid-20s. That's the most that he's played in one season, right?
Yeah, but that could be, though, because he's a youngster and he hasn't been permanently in the side.
Right, so here we go, right? 2021-22 made 1 appearance, right? So he's breaking through. 22-23 made 19 appearances, scored 6 goals. Overall, if you include all competitions, 25 appearances, 10 goals. Now, that's a great turnaround in terms of goals per game. So that was very good. Next season in the Premier League, he's played 27 games. And he scored 6 goals, right? In the league, 27 league games, 6 league goals. Overall, 36 games, if you include the cup games, 6 goals. Okay, so he scored nothing in the cup. 6 goals in 36 games, mate. He's not prolific. And then if you look at this season, he's just been coming back from injury. He's played made 12 appearances. Admittedly, some of those may have been coming off the bench, so not many minutes. He scored 1 goal. And he scored one goal in 14 games overall so far this season. So if you look at it on the face of it, he's played 59 Premier League games for Brighton. He scored 13 goals. Okay, right. That's not prolific, Gal. That's not. And also, you've got to worry about his injury record as well.
It's not prolific. His injury record is definitely worrying. There's a recurrence of his ankle injury at the moment. I don't know if it's the same ankle injury, different ankle. I don't know. But Ferguson is too similar to Fulkrug, says Damien. Well, in that case, let's go get him because we'll get a whole season out of the both of them combined. They can be known as Furkrug or something. Can be one striker. They can share a shirt. When one's injured, the other one can play. I think that'll work really well. So I think
this one's dead, by the way. This comment, when people keep mentioning about John Duran, we're not going to sign him anymore. No, you know, that ship has sailed, mate. That
the
ship
money
has
now.
sailed.
The money now is 60 to 80 million. We ain't paying that.
Yeah, not a chance. The one that I keep saying, Gal, the one that I said to you today when we spoke this afternoon, right? I think we should go all out to get Liam Delap from Ipswich. I think he's got real potential. And he's been scoring goals in a crap team. And actually, Ipswich are doing okay now. But he is someone, for me, that they paid, 20 million for him. I think their managers come out and said, we're not going to sell him. We're not going to sell him. But I'll tell you something now. If a club came in with 40 million, doubled their money over the course of 7 or 8 months that they've had him, they're going to take it. And 40 million for a striker, a young striker with potential to develop and grow, I think is a no-brainer. I would put that 40 million into signing Delap, mate, honestly, because he's already now tested himself out in the Premier League. You know what he can bring. So for me, that is an absolute no-brainer. I'd rather sign Delap than sign Evan Ferguson.
Loppy's suspended from the touchline on Friday, so we wouldn't know if he's there anyway.
You couldn't make it up, could you, mate? That's hilarious.
No. Liam Delap is genuinely a great shout. I was quite excited by him when I watched him. He's a good player. So look, what we're trying to do here is we're going to finish by past on the dot because Stel on The Voice is going to go live immediately after us. So let's talk about Graham Potter in a bit more depth. I mean, his career has actually been pretty successful as a manager, all in all. He's had a, where was he managing? He was managing in Sweden or something, wasn't he? Hold on a minute, let's just pull it up. So Osterund he managed. Are they Norwegian, are they?
That's what he started.
I know someone reminded me today that in a European competition they won 2-1 at Arsenal. So that's going back before he went to Swansea. When he was in charge of Swansea, 51 matches, 1.45 points per game. For Brighton, 134 matches, 1.28 points per game. Now, that might not sound that impressive, but when you look at the actual stats, he didn't have to draw a lot of games as well. He didn't lose many.
But Gal, also, you've got to factor in that Brighton were a team that were just coming into the Premier League as well. You know,
for two seasons, they finished 15th or 16th just after they got promoted, and then after that they finished 9th, and then when he left them, they were in 4th or 6th.
He left them in a great position, mate, with a much better squad than what he started with as well.
Yeah, what happened was the first 2 seasons he just he kind of worked it out. He worked out what he needed to do to survive, and that was. It is a possession-based game that he plays, but not a Loppy style possession-based game. He plays counter-attack as well, but he's also capable. He's intelligent. He can change a game. He can change tactics and formation. He can select a team and put together a team like Thomas Frank, based upon the moving parts that he's got available to him. So, you know, when we played Thomas Frank's injury-ravaged Brentford earlier in the season, they were still fucking hard to beat because that guy's a good manager and he uses all of the resources available to him, whether they're kids or what. Graham Potter will do the same thing, right? Because he is a coach in the traditional sense of the word. He will be given players and he will use what he's been given. That includes the youth team and whatever other resources he's got, because why wouldn't you? Yeah, that is the way it works with him. For Chelsea, 1.42 points per match, 31 games. He used probably 39 players, I think, in those 31 games, because you know the enormous squad that silly American gave him. Yeah. It was a thankless task that he had there at Chelsea, but he actually did pretty well, all in all. You know, not good for Chelsea, but 1.42 points per match would be all right for us, for instance. But at the same time, the first two, going back to his record at Brighton, because that's the important thing that everyone's familiar with, because there's a few little narratives that get bandied around. Number one is that, Brighton's a machine. All you do is plug in a coach and they operate the machine. He was the first coach in that machine to actually get it working, get it up and running. He stayed there for 4 years, which is much longer than the other 2 players that have been there since, the managers have been there since, including De Zerbi and the other geezer, right? So they were successful over a very short period of time. He established them as a Premier League side, very difficult to beat us all the bloody time, you remember? Yeah. And then in the last 2 seasons, the 3rd season, they started to get better and they finished 9th. They had a bloody good season. And then the final season, I was reading a Brighton discussion between 2 fans earlier today. And they had 2 opposite points on Graham Potter. One of them said he was a really good manager, really tactically astute. And the funny thing was, when he left us, it was either 4th or 6th place. He said when he left us, that final season, finally, he started delivering his vision of football, which was apparently fantastic. Yeah. And he left and went and joined Chelsea. But that was 3 seasons in, but that ain't the same rescue job as us. So that was turning a championship side into a Premier League side, and then probably over a season turning them into a side that can play his brand of football. He did pretty well. And the other guy came back, the critic, and he said, "Well, yeah, that's all very well, but you got to remember, his team don't score goals." And the other guy came back and said, "Well, you got to remember, his team never had any decent strikers." And Chris confirmed that before we came on the air tonight. He didn't.
No, he didn't. I think, he had Evan Ferguson when he broke through. He did quite well, but then he had some real dire players. I mean, he had Glenn Murray when he was like 36 years old. He's had players in there that, frankly, I've not even heard of. He's had Malpay. Malpay is a pile of crap. There's been nothing of any significance that he's had up front in those attacking options. He's had some good players in midfield, some good wingers. He brought in Solly March, obviously got Mitoma in, those types of players. They were very, very good players. But aside from that, he's worked with a very average front line. He has.
Did you read this here? West Ham Massive. Did you put this up? He took Östersund from the 4th tier in Sweden to beating Arsenal at the Emirates.
It's pretty special, mate.
You've got to understand, and what he did at Swansea was what he did at Swansea was special as well. So that's 3 special jobs that he's done: Östersund, Swansea, Brighton. Then he's done so bloody well in all those jobs. He gets the Chelsea job, probably the peak of his career. Right, that is the big job he's been waiting for.
They paid 16 million. They bought him out for 16 million. Yeah, 16 million, right? Chelsea, being Chelsea, would have had other options they could have turned to, but they chose him. Right, they would have done their due diligence on him, and he obviously has a very credible background. You're not going to go and shell. I know Chelsea do spend a lot of money, but spending 16 million to buy a manager is a lot of money. A lot.
No,
of
it
money.
is. It is. And at that time, he was out of our league. We could not. He wouldn't have looked twice at us at that time. But
Yeah.
what happened there was he got smashed around the head by the Chelsea machine. You know, so many players he didn't have enough dressing room space to sit them all down. Some of them were sitting on the floor. Some of them were on 8-9 year contracts to get around the PFR thing. It was a big old stitch up, and he did all right. He only had 1 or 2 bad losses. I'm not talking about getting slaughtered, but losing games he shouldn't have done. I think it was 2. I think it was 2 out of 31 games. So he didn't do really badly, right? He done actually pretty well in the scheme of things. Go back and look if you don't believe me. And you can take this simplistic attitude, this football manager attitude of, oh, he had all these stars. Look at all the stars he had. He should have made it. No, it don't work like that. This was a fucking mess, a circus, worse than us at the time. No, it wasn't worse than us. But it was. This was a shambles. This American was just buying random players, and he was expected to get them all to work and all to operate. They were all earning much more money than him. What are they going to listen to him for? Low league footballer, never won a Champions League or anything like that. You know what I mean? And then, you know, but rewind. When he went to Chelsea, remember what I said? When he went to Chelsea, he wouldn't have fucking looked twice at us. And we would have loved to have had him.
Yeah.
So why has 31 games at Chelsea suddenly changed people's minds that he's shit?
Yeah, no, I mean, you don't become a bad manager overnight over a sustained period of time, but that's not a sustained period of time at Chelsea, you know, like 6-7 months, whatever, you know, that he was there managing. It's not. So like, I'll be honest, mate. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm excited about Potter. I'm not like excited. I'm glad, but I don't want to get over the top because I always feel like sometimes my expectations are too high with West Ham at times. I just want him to come in and I want him to surprise me and do a good job. That's all I want, mate. I won't expect miracles.
He won't excite you because he's not a vocal fucking coach that stands raving on the touchline. But we've got one of them at the moment. What good does it do you, right? No one rants and raves more than Lopetegui, and he just pisses us off. I think if we give Potter 6 months and he can surprise, yes, this is why I think it's perfect. This is a chance for him to demonstrate that Chelsea was just a blip, right? And if he does well, we finish the season strongly, maybe pushing on for Europe. We won't get there, but maybe pushing on for Europe. Then, you know, people are going to embrace him. It'd be nice to have an Englishman in charge. But what another Brighton guy, he said, look, the fans won't warm to him because he's just not that kind of character. And that's obvious, right, from his demeanour.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about warming to him in a sort of romantic way, you know, the way like the way Bilic, the way we all warm to Bilic.
Managers
it ain't going to be like that. He's more clinical and tactical, but I'm fine with that. Moyes was 3-1. I remember this. Moyes was 3-1 up at home to Potter and shit himself because Potter picked him apart, the same as what he done up at Brighton when I think we were 1-0 up at half time and he came out in the second half and destroyed us, didn't he?
Yeah.
It just happened time and again. I think we lost to him every time at home, didn't we?
I don't remember getting anything out of him, to be honest with you. But here's a quote from Potter that I find quite interesting. Right?
I'm going to put the live stream up so that people's comments can just. So be careful what you write in the live stream, please. I'm just going to.
Yeah. So this is what Potter said. This was kind of Potter's mission statement when he went to Chelsea, right? He said, "I want a tactically flexible, attacking, possession-based team. Players that are brave, that aren't afraid to make mistakes, that can get on the ball and show courage and really try to enjoy their football. If the players are enjoying their football, there's a chance that the supporters will enjoy it as well. That's how you grow and develop as a club." So, look, I mean, he says the right things. Let's just hope that if he does come in, look, we'll all get behind him. We always do as West Ham fans. I know actually to say that, having said that, there's always a section of fucking idiots that go out there and start digging people away after a couple of games. But I think by and large, I think we'll all get behind him. We all want the change. If we were being honest, Potter was not the guy that we would have wanted at the start of the season either. I don't think he was. I think we were looking for something a bit more exciting, maybe someone a bit younger, all of that kind of stuff. But it is what it is, right? I think he's definitely an upgrade in comparison to Lopetegui. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So we just need to get behind the guy and just hope that he can start turning things around for us. And I'm sure he will. And I don't think he certainly can't do any worse. He can't do any worse than Lopetegui. So that's got to be a plus.
I'll tell you what I'm sick of. I'm pretty bloody sick of at the moment. So I've gone blue rather than I'm bored with the red. No, sorry, carry on. I've just done the wrong thing.
I don't know. You were saying you were sick of something.
No, go on. Well, no, what I'm sick of is again, I shouldn't say this because it's going to come out all wrong. But I'm a bit bored with having a manager who can only speak pidgin English. That bores the fuck out of me. I got to be honest. It's not his
Yeah.
fault. It's not his fault. We knew what he, how he operated, but it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. I mean, I said this before. Whenever you watch a pre-match or a post-match press conference, it's like watching the same one again and again and again. It's like rinse and repeat every week. It's boring, mate. It's absolutely boring. And if he comes across that way to the masses of fans, then how the hell is he coming across to the players? You've got to question that, haven't you?
Absolutely, absolutely, you have. He's I think he's going to struggle to communicate with half of them, and I think that's why he brought in a number of Spanish players, Spanish-speaking players, and he's got a load of people around him who do interpreting. I mean, it was I think Bowen was translating for some of the players the pre-match instructions as they walked onto the pitch recently.
Yeah,
That's not right, is it? How are you
So
supposed to get across such a complex system? How is
know.
Potter a gamble for 6 months, though,
Well,
Peter? Really?
let's not forget, right? The reason I put that one up, okay, because I think all managers are a gamble,
Oh,
regardless
yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah.
name.
Any
But
champion's a gamble.
you only have to look at Ruben Amorim, and we all wanted him, right? Let's be honest, we all wanted him. Look what he's been doing at Man United.
Ruben interim. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, exactly. It's a classic. It's a classic example of that. I mean, I think he's actually a good manager, and I think he will come good. But you put him in a situation where actually the team's falling apart a little bit. He's got a few dodgy characters in there, whatever, right? He's not really having a good time with it at the minute. I mean, he had a decent result at the weekend, but apart from that, he's been pretty poor. So I think every manager, there's always a gamble with this, particularly when you take foreigners. I think with regards to Potter, he does understand the Premier League. So I actually see Potter maybe as less of a gamble than someone like Ruben Amorim at this moment.
I do too. I think Amorim, I think he would have been fine with us taking over in the summer. I've got to be honest. What
at that
done
point,
this time,
yeah.
Amorim's taken over the mother and father of all problem clubs in Man United. They are a giant club, be under no illusions. They're the world's biggest club. They're a big deal. And they've got a lot of egos stacked up in that squad.
They've got a lot of crap in that club as well, Gal. They've got a lot of crap
they treat
in
the
there.
managers, they clearly treat the managers like they're going to be gone in a fortnight. And they've got no respect because they're, even someone who I class as relatively average, like, Marcus Rashford, he's earned 250, 300 grand a week. That is obscene fucking money.
Do you know what Amorim's done, right? He's taken over Man United in a very similar kind of fashion to what David Moyes took Man United as over. And, because he's obviously got aging players in there, the likes of Maguire, the likes of Casemiro, people like that. But he's also got a lot of crap in there as well. The likes of Zirkzee, whatever his name is, the striker up front. They've got a lot of kind of mediocre players and a lot of aging players. I mean, they've still got Johnny Evans as well. I mean, it's unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? So I don't think he's got such an easy job there at all. He's got a very difficult squad to deal with. But I think he probably would have had a better time at West Ham if we would have stuck our hands in our pockets, not shell out 20 million on a Brazilian potential prodigy and stuck it in, into buying a manager. Then we should.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that. But let's not make it a Man United show. But the fact is, he's gone into that. I think if he'd have, it's circumstance. If he'd have come to us in the summer, and he'd have got back like Lopetegui got backed, I think it would have been a very different proposition. Him taking us over, he wouldn't have felt the force of Man United. He'd have come in here feeling like it was a big fish in a small pond, which is sometimes a really nice place to be in your mind.
I thought it was a really exciting time this summer. All of that money to spend, basically investing back into the squad again, bringing new players in. If we'd have got the right manager in to bring the right players in for the right positions, the right style, the right tactics, everything else, I think it could have been a really good season. The season's not dead yet, but this has taken a massive dent in the club this season with Lopetegui in charge. No one wanted him, and it's such a shame because I think that was an opportunity to really kind of push on. I think it was always going to be a bit of a tricky season in terms of transition for Moyes, because Moyes did lead the club in a bit of a state, aging players, so on and so forth. But I also believe that the amount of money that we spent, perhaps we could have spent it a bit more wisely. I think we overspent on a number of players. I think we did. I do, as much as I don't want to. I'm not digging at anyone here, by the way, but I think sometimes maybe Kilman was a little bit too pricey. Maybe he's more like a £30 million player than a £40 million pound player. I think Fulkrug, you're right. I think he was too expensive. And you think about, I think there's other players that we could have got a better deal with, than some of the ones that we did sign.
I think he's an exception. I think Fulkrug, I agree with you. I think with Kilman, that's an exception to the rule for me because he was the Wolves captain They didn't have to sell him. They didn't want to sell him, so they could name their price. And he wanted him. He had him top of his list as the players he needed to buy. And the starting gave him that player, didn't he? As well as Guido, World Cup winner, and Soler. And I'm not against Soler. I'm not against Soler in any way, shape, or form. I think we might get a tune out of him. But I am really against Guido, especially after he opened his mouth and told him he didn't want a beer. Have some respect, mate. Right, Chris, any final words?
No, sort it out, West Ham. Sort it out. Get him gone. Right. Bring in the new guy and let's crack on. You know, that's all we can do. So no words apart from that. I just want to see a change. And hopefully by the time I wake up tomorrow morning, it'll be it'll be over the news that we've made that decision. But just typical West Ham.
Totally agree. That is all that needs to happen between today and tomorrow. Put Loppy out of his misery. Get an interim manager, Noble, Potsy, anyone to manage that team up at Villa. Don't get the fans to waste their journey. Don't get Loppy to waste his journey. Give the guy some dignity. Fire him quietly. Bring someone in. If that's Potter, fantastic. Good luck, Potter. But let's wait and see what happens. Thank you for everybody for sticking through the show. We've still got 740 plus people on TikTok, around about 1,000 at the moment watching. By the way, in a minute's time, or probably longer because it's Stell and he's never on time, the West Ham Voice YouTube channel is going live. So if you want to go over there for more discussion on this same topic, probably not going to second guess him, please go and see Stell. See Stell. He'll look after all your problems.
Not all of them. You can't make any decisions on the new manager, unfortunately. But
yeah, I know. But anyway, thanks everybody. Thanks for your comments. See you soon.